Hello and welcome. In this video, I'll be showing you how to create a view in PostgreSQL. So we basically create a view using the create view statement. So let's take a look at a simple syntax. So this is a basic syntax for creating views. First of all, you start with the create view clause, followed by the name of the view, which you specify after the create view clause. Then you put a query after the as keyword, which is this as keyword. And a query basically can be a simple select statement or a complex select statement that even includes various type of joins. So first of all, to illustrate how to create a view, before we do that, this is just a simple query. A query is kind of like a complex query to show you different types of joins. So we're joining various tables together to create a query. So one of the advantages of views, for example, if you are querying data from multiple tables often, and you're going to be doing the same thing often, then you are better off creating a view from that statement. So that's what we're going to do, but I just want to show you what the complex query looks like before we create a view from it. So we are using our sample database, which is a DVD rental. And we're going to take a look at 4 tables. So I'll start with the customer table here. We've got a customer table, and which basically stores all the customer related data. So I've got this in my select statement here. I've got the customer table here, and from the customer table, I am going to use the customer ID column and the store ID column, which is these 2 columns here. Notice I've got CU is just an alias. You normally specify an alias inside the from. You can see my from here. This is where I define the alias that I'm using here. So I'm taking 2 columns from this table called customer. I've got another table called address. If I bring that up, you can see address, and these are all the columns for my address table. The address table basically stores addresses of the customers. So from the address table, I'm going to use 3 columns. The address, which is this column here, the postal code, this column here, and the phone. So I'm taking 3 columns from the address. So you can see I've represented it here. And on the, I'm using an alias, A, to represent address. So it tells you that this address is coming from the address table. So these are the 3 columns I'm picking up from the address table. So another table I want to use is a table called city. This is a city table, which basically stores data related to cities. And from the city table, I'm only going to use 1 column, which is the city column. So you can see here where it says city, I'm only using 1 column, which is city. Finally, I've got a table called country, which basically stores data relating to countries. And from the country table, I am using just 1 column here, which is the country column here, which is specified here. You can see I've also used a case. A case expression basically is when it will evaluate the script based on certain condition within the case. So this is the case here basically. So when this is this, it meets that condition, then it will execute, whatever code is there. So that's what this case expression. But you can see how complex this query is because I'm joining 3 tables together, and I'm using other expressions as well, like case, when, else, and so on. So I'm going to execute this query so that you can see the output. Just click on that, and that should show me the output. Okay, so it's returned 599 rows. So we see how complex this is. So now I'm going to create a view from this complex query, and the view will give me a complete customer data, which would be a combination of data from several tables. So I've added another query here. So this is a query that actually creates a view from the multiple tables. We are using joins here to represent the data from multiple tables. So you can see here we started with the create view statement. I've created the view here and I've called the view customer underscore master as the name, and basically it's a lot similar to the previous query, which is this query here, but not as complex as it. Okay, it's a bit similar but not as complex. So we're using the create view statement to create a view called customer underscore master, and then we are grabbing basically the same columns I mentioned before in the previous illustration of the complex query. So using the same column names and so on, and we are also using the join as an expression. So the key thing here is that we don't have to, once we've created this view, we don't have to do a join each time we want to query data from this table. So by creating a view, it gives us a more complete customer data. Okay, so all you need to do is just run the query and it will execute the view. So this is the main difference between this and this query, in that the view, we can save the view as a table. It is as a virtual table. So anytime we want all this related data, we just run the view. So let me execute this query, and you can see, I'll click on that and we should get the same total here. Okay, so it tells you query returned successfully. So this actually creates the view. It doesn't execute the statement, but if I wanted to run this view now, I will query it just like you would a normal table. So the view has been created. If you look on the left hand side here, you should see a section for views. So if you expand that, you should see the view we've just created. You can see we've got a view here called customer underscore master. If I expand that, you can see the columns. We include all the columns. All these columns are a combination of columns from all the tables we've used in the view. So to execute the view, you just execute it the way you would do a normal table. So I'm just going to do a simple select statement here, which is this one I've written here. So I'm selecting star, means it will get data from all the columns from this view called customer underscore master. So I'm highlighting it to execute it, and then you can see the output. You can see it's giving me the same output when I ran the complex query. So it's giving me 599 rows. So this is a neater way of reusing a query that you would otherwise normally have to write all the time. So this saves a lot of time writing or reconstructing the data from each of the tables. So anytime I want this type of related customer information, I just come to my view and execute that. So that's basically how you create views.